The unit number 2, reactive power management, is divided into completely 3 modules. First module will be dealing with introduction to reactive power. In this, we will first go through what do we mean by reactive power, necessity of reactive power control, adverse effects of reactive power in power systems, and overview on the methods of controlling the reactive power. In module number 2, we will deal with the compensation in the power systems. In this, we are going to see various types of reactive power managing techniques. This is tap changing transformer, compensation, shunt compensations, series compensations, and synchronous condenser or phase modifiers. Usually, through the reference textbook, you will go through that there are only 3 types of compensating techniques of reactive power, that is shunt compensation, series compensation, and synchronous condensers or phase modifiers. Here, tap changing transformer cannot be classified as one of the technique because it uses regulating or tappings for changing the magnitude of the voltage. In the third module, we are going to study about the role of alternator in managing the reactive power. Here, reactive power, how it is generated by the synchronous machine, that is varying the effect of excitation, that is varying the excitation in the synchronous alternator, how we are going to manage reactive power magnitude. And last one is we will see the loading capability curve of this synchronous generator or alternator. For this unit number 2, you can go through I.J. Nagrath or D.P. Kothari textbook, that is Modern Power System Analysis. Before going on to the reactive power management topic, first we would like to have a quick recap regarding the types of power. In electrical system, there are mainly 3 types of power. One is the active power, another one is the reactive power, and last one is the apparent power. Here, active power is the power that does the actual work. Example, creating the heat, lifting the loads, etc. Its unit is in kilowatt. Here, reactive power is the power that does not do any actual or real work, but it moves back and forth in the transmission network in order to develop the magnetic field and provide the generation of active power. This reactive power is mainly generated with the help of capacitors or inductors, which will be present in the form of electrostatic field or magnetic field of a coil. It is usually measured in terms of kilowatt ampere, kilovolt ampere reactive power. Third one is the apparent power. It is mathematically the combination of above two, that is active power and reactive power. It is the algebraic sum of real and reactive power. Its unit is kilovolt ampere. Now let's quickly have an analogy of the power. Suppose we take a wrapper of Lay's chips packet which contains of potato chips, in which potato chips is actually the active power which is being consumed, but the air present in this packet is referred as a reactive power. Since the air is required for potato chips to retain itself for a longer duration of time, so it is required. So here your air is not actually consumed by the consumer, but it is required to maintain or to preserve these potato chips for a longer duration of time. And the combination of air plus potato chips is your complete potato chips packet. So here what we can realize that here potato chips which are actually consumed can be analogous to the active power or true power, and the air which is required for the potato chips to preserve for a longer duration of time can be analogous to the reactive power, and the total of this reactive power and the true power is nothing but the uh, apparent power, which is measured in kilovolt ampere. It is actually the total of active power plus reactive power, which is analogous here to the entire potato chips packet. I hope you are clear with this active, reactive and apparent power and their term units. Now let's see what do we mean by power triangle. Here power triangle basically the representation of right angle triangle showing the relationship between the active power, reactive power and apparent power. When each component of the current, that is active component I cos phi or the reactive component I sin phi is multiplied by the voltage, a power triangle is obtained. I hope you might have studied this in second year and third year. Here, true power can be given by capital P equal to VI cos phi. It is measured in terms of kilowatt, and the reactive power is given by capital Q equal to VI sin phi, that is volt ampere reactive. The hypotenuse side of the right angle triangle shows you the apparent power, which is denoted by capital S equal to VI. It is measured in volt ampere or kilovolt ampere. We have previously mentioned that the power which is actually consumed or utilized in an AC circuit is called true power or active power. This can also be said as real power, and the power which flows back and forth, that means it moves in both the direction in the circuit or reacts upon it, is called as reactive power. Then the product of the root mean square, that is value of voltage and current, is called as the apparent power. It is kilovolt ampere. So it shows the relationship between these three types of power. When an active component of the current is multiplied with voltage, it gives you the active power, whereas the reactive component, when I sin phi is multiplied with voltage, it gives you the reactive power. Here phi is nothing but the power factor angle, when this power factor angle is actually the ratio of active power to the apparent power. So what is the necessity of the reactive power? Actually, for real power accomplishes useful work while reactive power supports the voltage that must be controlled for system's reliability. So reactive power affects the voltage throughout the system. If there is any change in the reactive power, it is going to hamper the voltage of the system. And once the voltage instability occurs, it loses it makes the system fall out of synchronism. If a voltage on the system is not high enough, then the reactive power cannot be supplied. The motor loads and the other load require reactive power to convert the flow of electrons into useful work, that is the flow of electron into current, and that is being used to produce the flux and thus induces the EMF in the conductors, that is armature conductors. It is even required to establish the magnetic or electric field so that energy conversion takes place. Due to the reactive power, transformer can transform the power. So these are the few requirements in electrical power system about the reactive power. So this curve or the diagram shows you what is the magnitude of the reactive power with respect to the active power. Here the active power is shown on the x-axis, whereas the reactive power is depicted on the y-axis. The excess of the active power will lead to losses, whereas this is the requirement of the right amount of reactive power. So need of compensation of the reactive power. The first one is power factor improvement. When the reactive power is managed or compensated, it regulates the power factor of the system and maintains the voltage stability. We need to compensate this reactive power for improvement of the power factor. It also minimizes the losses. When we compensate the reactive power, it actually reduces the copper losses by regulating the flow of current through the line. Now improving the generator capability. Here the reactive power production can be limited by a generator's real power capability. Here, when we compensate the reactive power, the generator's power transferring capability increases and it also maintains the voltage constant. The quality of the power is improved because when we compensate the reactive power, it maintains the busbar voltage profile constant or within the limits. So hence it improves the quality of the power. And blackouts. The dangerous blackout occurs due to the cumulative breakdown in the power system network. So it requires a proper compensation of the reactive power in order to avoid any blackouts in the power system network. Now, through this slide, we are going to see how there is a change in the power factor angle when the reactive power is compensated using certain compensation techniques. Here, one of the technique we are using is we are applying the capacitors in the power system network to satisfy the reactive power demand. So initially, when the power system network we have considered, this capital Q is the total amount of the magnitude of the reactive power required by the network, and P is the, here on the horizontal axis you can see this capital P is the active power demand by the network. So thus when we take the hypotenuse, this is considered as the apparent power, and the angle made between the apparent power and the active power, this total is the phi angle, which is nothing but the power factor angle. So this power factor angle was in a large degrees, and thus the cosine of that power factor angle will be very less or poor. So we can say that at initially the power factor when the reactive power demand was capital Q and capital P, and the apparent power thus total was capital S, the power factor was very poor. But suppose now we compensate this reactive power from Q to Q dash. This magnitude of the reactive power is compensated using the capacitors. So when we compensate it, now the reactive power, actual reactive power needed in the network is only till the point of S. This vertical magnitude is the requirement or demand of the reactive power in the network. Rest the demand was fulfilled by the capacitors. So now what happened when we take the edge like displacement of this reactive power Q dash and the capital P, we get this apparent power capital S. So taking the angle between this apparent power and the active power, that is phi dash. So this phi dash is lesser in degrees compared to the initial power factor angle. So now after compensation your power factor angle have reduced. So when the power factor angle is reduced, the cosine value becomes higher compared to the previous cosine angle. It means that it implements that your power factor of the network have improved. Thus, we prove that using these compensation techniques, since the reactive power reduces and improves the power factor of the power system network. So thus this compensation is very important from the efficiency point of view of any power system network, since it improves the power factor of the network. So here you can observe that how the power factor value have power factor is taken on the y-axis, and the time of the day, that is the time period, is measured on the x-axis. So before compensation the power factor was somewhere at 0.78 lagging. This was the magnitude of the power factor for entire time of the day. But after compensation your power factor is almost unity maintained throughout the time of the day. So this is the power of compensating the reactive power in a network. So in 2012, the blackout has occurred in our country India on 30th and 31st of July, and due to this 600 million people were suffered from the survey they have taken. So 250 electric train, due to this 250 electric train was stopped and they were not able to reach the platform since the pantograph was not made available uh, the electrical energy. So loss of 1100 crores, financially it was a huge loss for the country. This was all due to not compensating the reactive power, and it led to a cumulative breakdown in the inter-region first and finally to the grid system of the India. So this all happened due to the underestimating the power of reactive power. So how to compensate this reactive power? So we will just quickly have overview on the methods of compensation. First, a very typical method of improving the voltage file and thus reducing the reactive power demand in the network is through the tap changing transformer. Basically, the tap changing transformer are of two types. One is off-load tap changing transformer and on-load tap changing transformer. So what does the tap changing transformer do is, we have the tap changer. This here you can observe that here 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8, these are the tappings at the turns of the transformer winding. So these are placed at the various positions. So from whatever the amount of turns we require, the turns can be decided by amount of the voltage required at the terminal. If the voltage magnitude required is higher, then higher tapping is chosen, that is large number of turns is chosen. If the voltage magnitude have to be reversed or it has to be stepped down, then we have to choose less number of turns. Thus we can change the voltage profile at the terminal, and once the voltage profile is varied, you can easily vary the reactive power demand. This is basically the principle of compensation using the tap changing transformer. Next one is the shunt compensation. In shunt compensation, basically the meaning of shunt is connecting in parallel. Now we have two compensating equipment, that is reactors and capacitors or inductors and capacitors. In shunt compensation, these inductors and capacitors are connected in parallel to the device where we want to compensate it for the reactive power. So they are basically connected in parallel in the system, mainly used for the power factor correction. So how does it compensate? We have mentioned it in the previous slide. Also, it is known as a load compensator, since usually due to the industries and other needs of the domestic, where our load is usually lagging type of a load, and thus it makes the power factor of the network lagging. So in order to improve this power factor, we usually have the parallel type of compensation in the network, and so it is called as a load compensator. So this is a network where these two generators are connected using the bus bar 1 and bus bar 2, and these are the transmission line reactances. Now due to these reactances, what happened is your reactive power demand have increased, since it is absorbing large amount of the lagging reactive power. So in order to compensate for that reactive power, we are applying or we are deploying this capacitor, this variable capacitor in between of these two reactor, in order to satisfy the demand of the reactive power of this transmission line, so that the entire power system network's power factor will be improved. Similarly, we have third type of compensation, that is series compensation. Now from the name itself, you can say it that it is a series, means these capacitors and inductors are connected in series wherever the reactive power has to be compensated. So they are mainly connected in series with the line and mainly used for boosting the receiving voltage. We know that receiving voltage is always lesser than the sending end voltage. So due to the losses or transmission line losses and inefficiency of the feeders and distribution lines, so losses occurs, and thus at the receiving end the voltage is always lesser than the sending end voltage. So in order to compensate this voltage, in order to boost this amount of voltage, we provide the series compensation technique. So this is nothing but done using capacitors and inductors which are connected in series of the transmission line or wherever required. Now these are also called as the self-regulating type of compensator. They regulate themselves, they regulate their magnitude of giving out the reactive power to the system, and thus compensate the reactive power demands and improve the power factor. So here you can observe that same network I have taken. On the two side you have generator 1 and generator 2. They are connected using the bus 1 and bus 2. In between of bus 1 and bus 2 there is a transmission line, and since we want to compensate the losses occurring in the transmission line, these losses are due to the excess demand of the reactive power. So in order to satisfy that reactive power, we are applying the variable capacitor and this inductor. So what they will do is they will improve, this will improve the bus 1 voltage profile, and this is going to improve the bus 2 voltage profile. So these are the real time inductors or the compensations which they have applied. These are the high voltage switching reactors. These are the high voltage switching reactors. So whenever the switching does takes place, there is a sudden surge in the voltage because huge amount of the load is removed, lagging load is removed. So due to that there is an increase in the voltage at that particular end. So in order to not to have the Ferranti effect over there, we will deploy the reactors. These are called as the switching reactor, since due to the switching this problem occurs. So these reactors are called as the high voltage switching reactors. Now this is a picture of tap changing transformer. Various tappings are there from 1 to 8. If we want to have the lesser amount of turns, then that is, if we want to step it down the voltage, then we will connect this selector switch to 8 number, and if we want to increase the voltage profile, then we will connect the selector switch to 1, so that from 1 till the line point we have large number of turns in between. If we connect the selector switch to 8, then comparatively previously we have lesser amount of turns, thus lesser amount of the magnitude of voltage. Similarly, we have a shunt capacitor. These are the shunt capacitors. They are connected in parallel with these units. So these are the series compensation over here. So you can also browse few more pictures for these compensation or compensating techniques on Google platform. So as I have mentioned this previously, what does the tap changing transformer do? It only regulate the output voltage at a required level. They are basically of two types. One is off load or on load, and they alter the turns ratio of the transformer by altering the number of turns in one winding of the appropriate transformer. Since the offload tap changer causes the interruption of the supply, because of on load, without any interruption of the supply, the tappings can be changed, but for the offload tap changing transformer we have to cut down the supply. Then we have to manually change the selector switch position, and then uh, due to this what happens, there is an interruption of the supply to the load side. So this is the biggest disadvantage of the offload tap changing transformer. So this is also only the difference between the on load and off load. Shunt compensation network, this can be employed either at the load level or substation level or at the transmission level. So all the three stations can employ this shunt compensation in the power system network. The compensation should be provided very close as possible wherever the consumption point is, in order to avoid to any like distribution of the power to the any other part of the network. So locations here, from this graph you can see that there are various locations of the transformers. There are two transformers over here. At the this is the initial transformer and this is the secondary transformer. Now next one, here are the three motors which we have connected as a lagging load, and uh, this is the point where compensation have been done. So a is called as the direct compensation. It means that due for the lagging load we want to compensate it for the reactive power due to this motor. So we have compensated using this capacitor connected in parallel. That is, we have done the shunt compensation. It is called as direct because it is very close to the point where the reactive power consumption is being done. Now B is called as the group compensation. Why it is called as group compensation? Because here group of motors are there and they are causing a huge lagging reactive power. They are absorbing the lagging reactive power. In order to compensate for whole of this group, we are giving this single compensation. So it is called as the group compensation. Now central compensation at the low voltage side. Now where is the low voltage? This side is the low voltage side and this side is the high voltage side, obviously. So at this particular point we are connecting the capacitor in parallel. So but this is connected to the central line, right? From the generating side we are stepping it down the voltage and then it is provided to the load. So this is the central line between the generator and to the load. So this is this shunt compensation is called as the central compensation at the low voltage side. Similarly, central compensation at the high voltage side is this side, because this side, this is the central line which is bifurcating the high voltage and low voltage side. So at the low voltage side, this capacitor is doing the work, it is compensating for the reactive power, and at the high voltage side, this D labeled capacitor is compensating for the lagging reactive power. I hope you are clear with this shunt compensation in the network. So for the high voltage transmission line, the line capacitance is very high and plays a very significant role in the voltage condition of the receiving end. This line capacitance role you are very clear when you were studying in power system 2 about the in power system 1 about the insulators, when you were studying about the porcelain type of insulators, or there were different types of strain type and shell type of insulators. During that you were studying about the line capacitance. So how this line capacitance plays a very important role in giving the imaginary voltages and building up the voltages from ground to the line. So when the line is loaded, then the reactive power demand for the load is partially met by the reactive power generated by the line capacitances, and the remaining reactive power is made by the reactive power flowing through the line from the sending end to the receiving end. So what does this mean? Some of the reactive power is compensated using the line capacitance which is developed between the line and the ground, and the other amount of the remaining amount of the reactive power is compensated by the reactive power itself present in the network, which is flowing from back and forth fashion from sending end to the receiving end. So when the load is very high, that is more than the surge impedance loading, that is at the point when surge impedance loading is the point when reactive power is almost equivalent to the active power. So when the load is very high, that is more than the SIL condition, then the large reactive power flows from the sending end to the receiving end and thus result into the large voltage drop in the line. So in order to improve this voltage at the receiving end, the shunt capacitors are connected at the receiving end, and thus it will generate the reactive power and compensate it for the lagging reactive power. This feed the reactive power to the load so that the reactive power flow through the line, and consequently the voltage drop in the line is reduced. So this is the picture of series compensation, how this compensation have been done. Series compensation is basically a very powerful tool in order to improve it for the ultra high voltage and extra high voltage lines. Okay, they are not used for the regular lines, they are for the ultra high voltage and extra high voltage. It consists of capacitors which are easily connected in series wherever the locations, wherever there is a high voltage drop in the line due to the reactive power. So basically this series capacitor improves the transmission capacity, the system stability, it controls the voltage regulation, that it maintains the voltage magnitude constant, and proper division of the load can be done among the parallel feeders. So these are the prominent important features of compensating with the help of the series capacitor. The last type of technique which is quite costly than the shunt and series compensation is the synchronous condenser. Here synchronous condenser is nothing but actually the synchronous motor which is over excited and at the under load condition, like it is at the no load or under load condition, but it is over excited. Here then this type of operation of the synchronous motor is called as a synchronous condenser or phase modifier also. A device whose main function is the improvement of the power factor of the electrical system. and it is installed at the receiving end of the line. So when the condenser is introduced, it supplies the kilovolt ampere reactive power, that is the reactive power to the system, and hence the current requirement in the network is reduced. And when the current requirement is reduced, your I square R losses are reduced. So therefore the losses are reduced, and it gives you the better efficiency and more power, that is more active power, which can do some useful work, will be delivered to the load and improve the power factor of the system. So advantages are, it is very easy to use, and its maintenance is also very easy, and it is very robust. And since it is very robust, so obviously it can be used for the larger lifespan, and power factor is improved automatically without replacing it now and then. So this is the synchronous motor, which is overexcited and at the no load condition, employed at the receiving end station. So next technique is the STATCOM. STATCOM is basically, it is a static synchronous compensator source for generating or absorbing the reactive power. It can generate as well as it can absorb the reactive power. The synchronous voltage source is constructed using the voltage source converter. So it is also called as the SVS or SSC. It is SVS is one of the type of the SSC, that is static synchronous compensator. In that you have the SVS, that is the synchronous voltage source, and this deploys the voltage source converter, which is VSC, and such a compensating shunt compensating device is called as the STATCOM, that is static compensator. Since it does not have any dynamic part or the rotor kind of part, so it is called as the static compensator. So basic advantages are, the reactive power used in the STATCOM is very small quantity, and those that in the SVC, and the characteristic of the STATCOM are much superior than the static VAR compensator. So STATCOM is more superior than the static VAR compensator, and the harmonic filter capacity is also less in case of in this SVC, but in STATCOM the harmonic filtering capacity is very high. Reduction of the size of high value of air cooled reactor. Since we are the reactor which we are using is air core, so we do not require any bar magnet, or thus reducing the costing of this, and it is economically feasible. So, and next one is the equipment volume and the footprint. So whatever the floor area required is also very less for the STATCOM, that is static compensator. So finally the conclusion is, in a developing nation like India, the power demand in the near future is going to be very high, and in order to meet this increased power demand, not only installed capacity has to be increased, that is installed capacity can be increased from the generator side by increasing the number of units in the thermal generating plants, in nuclear generating plant, but also we need to compensate in between the transmission line and at the receiving line using these various techniques: shunt, series, SVS, or STATCOM, or the synchronous condenser. And with the installation of the TCSC, which is a kind of fixed series capacitor technique, it dynamically improves the performance of the entire operation of the uh, power system network. It also improves the drop of the voltages occurring due to the contingencies, and this avoid the disintegration of the grid issue, which is numerously faced in the past due to the cumulative breakdown or the disintegration, proper integration, lacking of proper integration in the system. So which is due to the like unsuitable switching occurring in the network, or sudden fault or short circuit happening in the network. So under this circumstances, it is very important to utilize the existing system efficiently as possible in order to increase both the capacity and quality of the present transmission network, and even if for the limited period, through various innovative methods with minimum investment as possible. So this uh, is the role of using this is the role or importance of shunt series SVS and various types of techniques for compensating the reactive power in order to improve the present installed transmission lines efficiency as well as generating sides efficiency. So thank you for patientfully listening this first module of unit number 2, that is reactive power management um, module. So we will further have a module number 2 of this second unit regarding the depth of this various types of techniques. In module number 2 we will go into the details of each and every technique and complete this unit number 2. Thank you so much.